Hey, everyone. Happy Wednesday. I am logging in really quick to share this to the Facebook group. But let me know that you're here, that you're watching, where you're watching from. As always, we're streaming on my Facebook business page into Instagram, YouTube Live, and TikTok at the same time. So again, TikTok, I am so sorry, but unfortunately, this is the only way for you guys to be able to see the slides. But let me know that you're here, where you're watching from. Drop it in the comments. And then, as always, if you have any questions during the live, feel free to drop them in the comments as well. I always come back at the end and answer any questions you guys have. Okay. But today we're talking about the power of repurposing, because this is something that, one, I run my whole business on. Okay. I tell people all the time about 20% of the content I put out every month is new. Everything else is usually repurposed in some sort of way. And it's exactly what I teach my students in the academy, my rinse and repeat strategy. Okay. And when you learn how to put a rinse and repeat strategy into your business, you'll be able to rinse and repeat not only your content, but the marketing principles behind it. If you introduce new products, new services, new offers in the future, you can rinse and repeat your funnels, your email, everything, every element of your business. So my goal for today is to show you the power of repurposing. Towards the end, I'll give you some of those most common mistakes that people make when repurposing content, because I hear it all the time. People say, well, I'm doing all the things and I'm being everywhere and it's not resulting in a sale. So I want to point out to you what's not working, okay? Because I think it's equally as important for me to teach you what's working as it is to teach you what doesn't work. And then also kind of help you understand, after we talk about mistakes, I want to walk through kind of what it looks like to build a repurposing strategy for your business. Okay. So try to stick with me till the end. I do have to keep it at an hour today. I say that every week and then I'm always over. But because I had to move a couple hours today due to them working on Wi-Fi here at our house, I am running behind schedule. So I'm going to walk you guys through this. And as always, if you have to hop off, the replay lives inside Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs. If you're on TikTok, you can get the link to join my free community in my stand store under my favorite resources. And if you're on Instagram or Facebook and you're not already in the community, you can drop group in the comments and we will get you guys the link to join my community. But every week I go live in there. I share these tips with you. So I hope that you start putting them into your business. Let's dive right in. I like to give a really quick overview of me because, again, my audience is growing every day. Some people know me, some people don't. I'll keep this brief. I'm a mom of 3, multi-6-figure business owner, speaker, podcaster, published author, and coach for entrepreneurs. Everything I teach you is based on things that I've proven in my business, okay? So I don't come here to teach you things that ChatGPT wrote or that you could Google yourself. And in case you're new to any of my trainings, I always tell you that I'm not here to teach you something new. You know enough, okay? You probably have what I like to call infobesity, too much information, right? You're overwhelmed with it. My goal is always to break it down and make what you already know super simple, okay? And that's what my goal is for today. That's what my goal is for all of my trainings, is to give you that clarity in your business and that confidence in your business, because sales don't come until you have clear direction and you know what you're doing, okay? So the concept of repurposing, it's simple, but again, it's often done incorrectly. So the concept's taking one piece of content and using it in multiple different ways on multiple platforms. Okay. A lot of people think this means posting the exact same piece of content everywhere, and that's not what it is. Okay. I'm not saying I don't do that. And I will give you examples of how I use this in my business today, but it really is more focused on adapting your content so it fits perfectly with each individual platform, because we know what works on TikTok doesn't work on Instagram all the time, or doesn't work on Facebook or Pinterest or wherever you're hanging out, wherever your ideal client is hanging out. Okay. So you've got one message and then you break that down into bite-sized chunks for each individual platform. So what it's not is copy paste. Okay. And you'll see the little X right there. This is not about copying and pasting. Now, I will tell you, like I said, I'm going to give you examples of how I put this in my business. I do repurpose some of my identical content from one platform to another, But the only time I do that is if I'm not focused on growing on that platform. Okay. So for instance, example would be Twitter. I am not focused on growing on X, Twitter, whatever it's called these days. It's just not, it hasn't been a focus for my business. Okay. So for me, I do repurpose word for word some of my thread posts right to Twitter. And I use automation tools to do that. Okay. So if you haven't already grabbed my Dominate automation guide, you can do that. If you're on Facebook or Instagram, you can drop Dominate in the chat and we will get you my free guide on that. If you are on TikTok, you can grab it in my Stand store under Fave Tools and Resources. It's a free guide. And I teach you about the tools that I use to be able to do this, to take one piece of content and blast it everywhere. But if you want to build an omnipresence and you want your repurposing to work, the best way to do it is to curate it. So you'll see the little dude over here and he's showing you how you take a video and you turn it into this and this and this, right? So I'm going to teach you today about how to do that and how to make that work for you. But just know repurposing content does not mean, oh, I took my TikTok and I put it everywhere that allows a video, because you're looking at audiences are different. The amount of how long your content can be is different everywhere. So if you've tried repurposing that way and it hasn't worked, that's why. Okay. So why it matters, I want you to understand why repurposing matters. So first off, it saves you a ton of time, right? Because right now, more than likely, you're in your business and you're constantly trying to come up with new ideas. You're spending more hours scrolling, looking for inspiration, looking for ideas, looking for trends. And you should be using that time to be the CEO of your company. Okay. So it's really important that you understand that it saves you a ton of time. Instead of creating new every time you post, you're stretching the value of one piece of content across several platforms. And this allows you to not only, like I said, save that time in creation process, but it also allows you to save that time in posting process. Okay. So looking at if you're repurposing what performed well last month or 2 months ago, you can pre-schedule all of that and get hours of your life back. Okay. So first and foremost, saves a ton of time. Second, you get that consistency without the burnout. All right. So more than likely, you're either burnt out right now or you've been burnt out at some point in this business of constantly creating content. You're overwhelmed. You're like, I'm always behind the screen. I spend more time on my phone creating content than I do with my kids, right? You're getting that burnout. So it allows you to be consistent and show up without that feeling of being drained, right? Or scrambling. And the kicker is it creates that omnipresence. Now, for those of you that don't know what omnipresence is, it is being able to be everywhere and serve your audience on all platforms without, the burnout, but also making sure that you're delivering the same message. Okay. So you're showing up on Instagram, Threads, Facebook, YouTube, and all saying the same thing. Now, maybe in different ways, and we're going to get to that a little bit because your audience is not the same on every platform. And that's part of the reason the copy paste isn't working. Okay. But it allows you to serve your audience with the same message, just delivered in a different way. So no matter where they are, they're getting your message. They're hearing about your solution and you're serving them. And I want you to think about this as we go through today's presentation. What is a creator that you follow or that you know of or that you've seen their content and you've seen it everywhere, right? Everywhere. So for me, one of those is Alex Hormozi. Okay. And I'm actually going to bring him up here in a little bit because he's kind of the king at this point of repurposing content. But Alex Hormozi's everywhere. His message is the same everywhere. Some of his content on Instagram is literally a screenshot of his Twitter, right? But he's mastered it because he's serving his audience everywhere without stretching himself thin, right? He just bought school or whatever. He's been running all these business, probably billionaire at this point. I should have done a little research on his net worth, but do you think he has time to sit at his desk and create TikToks for hours a day? No. Now, does he have a team that helps him? I'm sure. So don't put yourself in comparison mode to somebody that has a team of, 30 people. but his concept can be used by anyone, okay? By anyone. So I want to show you the power of repurposing. And I probably missed some things at this point, right? But this is the power of it. So this is why it takes your business to the next level. Let's say you film one long form YouTube video, okay? A lot of you probably aren't doing long form YouTubes, but for the sake of this example, I want to use that, because the beauty of signature content, long form content, and I'm going to break that down for you here in a little bit, is that it gives you more value and more context to work with. So we could even say, actually, let me use myself as an example. Okay, let me use myself. So let's say I filmed this live training today. Okay, and typically they're about 1 hour, sometimes a little bit longer, right? But every Wednesday I go live. Okay, every Wednesday. And then I can take this live, because it's an hour long. There's a lot of content in it. I can turn it into a blog if I'm a blogger, right? Now, I want to stop right here before we go any further and say, you know, I want you to take what I teach you today and put it into action in your business, but I don't want you to go overwhelm yourself and feel like, oh my God, I got to be in all of these places. That is not what I'm saying. I do feel like you need to be on multiple platforms. In fact, I know you need to be on multiple platforms because, one, your audience is on multiple platforms, and two, don't put all your eggs in one basket, right? We all know the, controversy around the whole TikTok ban. Who knows what's going to happen with that? Instagram's bringing new features every single day that we didn't even ask for. So the algorithms are janked, right? Facebook, I can't even scroll my Facebook feed. I could scroll for 10 minutes and I might see 3 posts. Everything else is an ad, right? TikTok, same thing. Scroll in my FYP and all I see is TikTok affiliate stuff. So it's important for you to be on multiple platforms so that you can actually reach people, all right? You can't control every level of visibility, but if you can be on multiple platforms, your chances of reaching your ideal client are a lot higher. So as you take what I'm teaching you today and you go put it into place in your business, pick 2 or 3 of these to start with. All right. Don't go be like, oh my God, I'm going to be a blogger. I'm going to be a podcaster. And you're going to end up overwhelming yourself. But more than likely, if you're watching this, you're probably already on 2 or 3 platforms. So take what I'm giving you, go master it. And then once you've mastered it, introduce a new platform. Okay. And I like to teach my students in my academy, my club, to focus on growing one at a time and being present on the others. Okay. And I'll explain that a little further into the training. But let's say I take today's live training. All right. It's going to be about an hour long. If I was a blogger, I could turn it into a blog. You guys know I'm not a blogger. I don't like to write. Almost everything I put out has a typo in it. So not my jam. All right. Not my jam. I'm better at speaking to you. Okay. I could take this 1 hour training, turn it into a TikTok, stories, a TikTok live. I am right now, right? X that off. And the beauty of it is, honestly, because this video is going to be an hour long and TikToks can't be longer than 10 minutes. I mean, I could probably make 3, 4, 5 TikToks from what I'm teaching you today. Okay. So thinking about this one piece of content could technically probably be a whole week of content for TikTok. Same thing with Instagram. Instagram Reels, stories, carousels, and lives. I will take, and you will probably see it on my TikTok and on my Instagram after today, I will take this video and it will become at least 2 carousels. It will become at least 2 or 3 reels. It will become multiple story sequences. And I'm live on Instagram right now. So you can mark that off. This is on Instagram too, right? So again, this one long piece of content could be multiple pieces of content. All right. X, Twitter, right? I could transcribe this video and turn it into probably hundreds of tweets. And the beauty of it is with Twitter or X, whatever it's called, and Threads, which you see here, there are short form tweets, there are short form threads, and there are long form. So if you're on those platforms, you've probably seen, you'll have short form where people have just like 1 sentence or maybe 2 or 3 sentences. And then you'll see long form where they give you a hook and then they point you to go in the caption to read part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So ultimately, this is unlimited. I could probably turn this into 100 of those. Okay. And again, with minimal effort. So this one video could potentially be a month's worth of content for those two platforms. Pinterest. I do a lot of things on Pinterest with this video. I could make multiple pins that are talking about the power of repurposing your content, 5 mistakes you're making when repurposing your content, 4 ways to repurpose your content, drive them all back to this video, this training. I could make multiple pins that drive them to my TikTok that's going to talk about this training, my reel that's going to talk about this training, my blog if I was a blogger. I could take my short form videos from Instagram and Twitter and put them as idea pins, right? So you're probably overwhelmed already at this point because you're like, holy crap, I'm not doing all of this. Or you're like, I'm doing all of this, it's not working. You have to have a plan, all right? You cannot reactively repurpose. It has to be proactive, okay? And that's part of the reason it hasn't been working for you, all right? I could also do YouTube, like I said. So this is a Facebook Live. I could do it. I could turn this into a long form YouTube video. I could stream it live on YouTube, which we are right now, actually. And I could take it and turn it into 5, 6, 7 YouTube shorts, right? So again, taking one piece of content, turning it into multiple. Podcasts. I have a podcast. So this could become 2 or 3 podcast episodes, right? I could have one episode about the power, what it does for your business, one episode about the mistakes you're making when it comes to repurposing your content, one that's the top 5 ways to repurpose your, like I could turn this into a whole month's worth of podcast episodes. Emails. So emailing my list, right? Maybe I email my list today about the replay. Maybe I email my list about here's the top 5 mistakes you're making when repurposing your content and drive them to my reel, drive them to my TikTok, right? But I could send multiple emails about this video or about the shorter form content I've made about this video. LinkedIn, same thing. LinkedIn posts, you've got LinkedIn Live, and then you've also got articles. People write articles on LinkedIn. Now, ideally, again, you got to know where your ideal client's hanging out. Okay. So that would be maybe for some of you that are, more in the coaching area, or maybe you are, consulting, or you have corporate clients, or you're a VA, something like that. Those of you trying to reach the stay-at-home mom that wants to make some money online, she might not be hanging out on LinkedIn, right? So it really is, you got to know where your ideal client is. And then Facebook, right? Same thing. So there's Facebook Reels. I could make a post about this in my group. I'm streaming in my group right now, but I could make a post about it later this week. Hey, did you catch the replay? Right? Facebook posts on my business profile and my personal profile. I could do a Facebook Live, which I'm doing right now, and stories, Facebook stories, right? So it really is about working smarter, not harder. Okay. It really, really is. And the best part is you don't have to feel like you're creating content 24/7. Repurposing really frees up your focus to shift to the stuff that really matters, right? Like engaging with your audience and closing those sales. If you're spending all of your time dedicated to your business and creating content, you're not a business owner. You're a content creator. Okay. And content creators come and go. They burn out. They go out with the trends, right? So you really need to decide what point in your business you're in right now. Okay. So the secret, okay. The secret is high quality and high quantity equals success. Okay. So what we really have to think about here, and I talked about Alex Hormozy earlier, but he's a businessman, right? He's not a content creator. So you need to understand that high quality and high quantity equals success. Now, I'm not telling you to go post 5 times a day, that quantity area. The goal here is to take the high quality and turn it into high quantity. Okay. So going back to Alex Hormozy, he spends most of his time doing business. He doesn't have time to make TikToks all day long, right? That's one reason he's so successful, is because he's putting all of his energy into what really matters. So the main benefit of your content repurposing is that it allows you to scale that high quality content because you're taking a single piece and putting it everywhere. Now, the downside to this is if you're not creating high quality and you're just creating volume, it's not going to work, right? It's not going to work. It doesn't matter if you're creating 10 TikToks a day. If they're not high value and they're not high quality, people aren't resonating with them, you're not speaking to the right person, you can repurpose it all day and it's going to bring the same result. Okay, so let's talk about some of the biggest mistakes, because I want you to understand that the quality here matters. You can rinse and repeat all day long, but if it didn't perform the first time, unless you tweak it or curate it, it's not going to perform the second time. Okay, so why it fails. The first reason content repurposing fails is lack of strategy. Everything can be repurposed, but that doesn't mean it should be. Okay, everything can be content, but that doesn't mean it should be. If it doesn't resonate with your offer or your ideal client, it should not be content for your business. Okay. The hardest thing to learn as an online business owner who's creating marketing and content is that people don't care about you. All right. People are wired to be selfish. Does that mean they don't trust you? They're not invested in you? No. But do they want to hear about what you had for breakfast? Probably not. Okay. Not unless it matters to them. So one of the most common mistakes people are making when repurposing content is doing so without that clear strategy. So without having a strategy for repurposing, it's probably out of alignment with your brand and your business goals. You are being reactive. You are just saying, you know what? I don't feel like making content today, so I'm just going to pull one of my old ones and repost it. That doesn't work. Before repurposing any of your content, you have to take time to set objectives, to be clear on your ideal client, right? And what results you want to see. Creating a content repurposing plan outlines what pieces of content will be repurposed where, and where you're going to be sharing them, what platforms, and how they will be shared to fit the look and feel of different platforms and different formats. Okay. So again, everything can be content, everything can be repurposed, but that doesn't mean it should be. So I'll give you an example of this because I love examples. But one of the mistakes I've made in the past with repurposing content is taking maybe a video I made on TikTok about growing on TikTok and using it on Instagram. I know that should have been a no-brainer, but I was like, most people are on multiple platforms. It's going to work, right? No, they don't perform very well. Now, I do post about my TikTok tactics challenge and things like that in my Instagram stories, because I do want people to know that that's available. I've had good testimonials from it. People are still active in my challenge. People are seeing results with my challenge, but I don't usually create long form content around it. Okay. Or even short form like reels or carousels. So you need to be strategic in what you're repurposing. And one of the best ways to do that is evergreen content. And we're going to talk about that here in a second. Okay. The next reason it fails is what works on one platform not necessarily resonate with your audience on another platform. You need to know your audience. Okay. So repurposing content is great, but if you're doing it without considering the needs or behaviors of your audience on each individual platform, it's not going to work. My audience on TikTok is very different than my audience on Instagram. Now, some of them are the same people. Okay. Some people have followed me on multiple platforms, but what's resonating on Instagram is not the same thing that's resonating on TikTok. Okay. People view content differently on both platforms. People like to consume differently on both platforms. They like to consume longer versus shorter form. They like to consume top of funnel versus middle of funnel, right? So what's working on one platform does not mean it's going to work on all. And you have to know what your audiences are and how they are receiving that information. Because if you are just speaking to the same person on every single platform in the same way, it's not going to bring a result. Okay. Now, a lot of this comes down to the research, because you're probably thinking, well, how do I know? How do I know that, right? How do I know what my audience likes on this platform, what my audience likes on that platform? That's your job as a marketer. That's your job as a CEO. You need to know those things. So a couple ways to do that. Your analytics, right? Your analytics usually tell you everything you need to know. Polling your audience. Okay. So in your stories or, if you're in a Facebook group, or if you have a Facebook group of your own, asking, what type of content do you like to consume on this platform? You have to know that. It's not an excuse to say, well, I'm doing all the things and it's not working. Okay, cool. Welcome to entrepreneurship. It's your job to figure it out. Okay. So you really need to understand. You also need to understand not only what works on what platform, but also what type of content performs in different ways. So Reels, I'll give you an example when it comes to Instagram. Reels tend to get more opt-ins for me, more people commenting my keyword, wanting my resources, things like that. Carousels tend to convert, meaning more sales. So my carousels don't get the views, they don't get the likes, they don't get the saves that all of my Reels might get, but they do make more sales. Now you have to have a mixture of both, okay, in order to continue to grow. If you're only posting, nurture style content, your audience is going to stay stagnant. But it's your job to know what type of content does what for your business. All right. The next reason it can fail is not taking the time to optimize or edit for each platform. Okay. And this can take time. There are shortcuts to this. If you're using like CapCut, or there's a lot of apps out there to add captions and things like that. But these platforms are getting so much smarter when they know if the content's organic or not. Let me know in the comments if you've had TikTok tell you recently that it's not original content. Okay. And it makes me angry because a lot of them, I'm like, this is my original content, but they have flagged it. And I'm like, I don't know why, right? You can't help that. There's nothing you can do for that. But a common mistake when repurposing content is simply using the same thing across all platforms without updating it, right? So another example of this is if you take an Instagram Reels and you download it and you go put it on LinkedIn, right? Instagram Reels is 9:16. LinkedIn is, more like a square. It's going to look like crap. Okay. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be terrible. The same thing with like visibility, right? So Instagram, I believe that TikTok's pixels are better than Instagram's. So when you take a TikTok and you download it and you go to put it on Instagram, it's more clear than if you take a reel and you put it on TikTok, it's blurry. So again, you need to know those types of things. But just a little bit of tweaking for each individual platform could work better. Okay. So instead of copying and pasting your content, take the time to edit it and optimize it for each platform. And if you have a plan, which I'm going to get to in a little bit, you could do this in a day or two for the whole month. All right. So you're probably like, well, I don't have time to edit. I'm already spending all of my time filming and blah, 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 whatever, all the excuses you're making right now. But the truth is, if you have a plan, it becomes a whole lot easier. And you somehow find that time you haven't found yet. Okay. So this might involve tweaking the format, the tone, the length, the visuals. It could be a lot of different things to know what resonates with your audience on each platform. But again, having a plan, having a strategy, this becomes so much simpler. Okay. Another reason repurposing fails is you're not monitoring your analytics. Okay. So it's important to analyze your content's analytics or ask for feedback from your audience. And without that data telling you, okay, this is working, then you're just slapping stuff up there to say, well, I'm everywhere. No, you have to regularly monitor your analytics and your data to track what's performing, right? What of your repurposed content is performing across different platforms? You want to look at your engagement. You want to look at your reach, your conversion rate, okay, to see what's working well and what you can improve. Maybe you have repurposed a piece of content and it didn't perform. So does that mean we go throw it in the trash? No, we need to look at it. Maybe the hook you had on it on TikTok didn't resonate with your audience on Instagram. Maybe we tweak the hook, we try again, right? Again, I talked about carousels, right? Carousels, I know, convert better for me. So if I see that, then I want to have a mixture of both. If my carousels weren't doing anything, then I would scrap carousels probably, right? You don't want to keep doing what's not working. And so when you're like, well, I've been at this for 6 months and I've yet to have a sale. Okay, so what are you going to do to fix that? Right? Do you just give up? No. So, really important to think about using your analytics. Your analytics also show you like your age range, right? They also show you what time your clients or your audience is hanging out. So you can use that to kind of customize what's working and what's not working. But the worst thing you can do is repurpose content that flunked because it's going to keep flunking. I actually posted on Threads the other day. If you're not hanging out with me on Threads, I'd love to see you there. I am very new to Threads. I'm trying to figure it out over there, but it's a lot of fun because it doesn't take, it's very low energy. But I posted this the other day. I had a video on my personal TikTok that hit 1.3 or 1.4 million views. Okay. It got put on my business Instagram by accident because I was testing a new automation tool. It was supposed to go to my personal Instagram and it didn't. It went to my business one, but it still got like 60,000 views maybe on my personal Instagram. And then it went to YouTube because, like I said, I really was testing this new system. Shit happens, right? And it got, I can't even remember, 60,000 views on YouTube. So one, that shows me that a viral video is a viral video and it will go viral everywhere. But did it do anything for my business? No, because it was a personal video about my kids. Okay. And the beauty of that is I started to say, okay, so I could see that it got the views. So people, resonated with what was being said. Did it get comments? Some, but I learned a lot about my audience. The comments on TikTok were very, very ugly. They were more about who my kids were with than it was about the actual purpose of the video. The comments on Instagram were more uplifting. Like, I love seeing this. My son also has autism. Like it was very resonating with me. And on YouTube, they got no comments. So it's kind of funny because I learned a lot about, I'm like, okay, the people on TikTok can be a little bit more negative. No offense, TikTok, but there were some really nasty comments there. And then on Instagram, I was like, okay, people are more about inspiring each other. And then on YouTube, I'm like, I don't know, right? Got to figure that out. Got to go look at my analytics. So you need to be looking at your analytics to be able to understand what type of audience you have on each platform. Okay. And then last, why it fails is not doing evergreen content. Okay. So evergreen content means that it lasts forever, right? So it's not about a trend. It's not about, this is what's going on TikTok this week. This is what's happening on Instagram this week. It's something that will remain relevant and valuable over time. So when I was first starting my new TikTok channel, a lot of my content was teaching people marketing, like the ease of marketing, the eyes of marketing, all of those types of things, because that will never change. I learned a lot of that stuff in Marketing 400 or whatever back in college a decade ago. That does not change. The way people consume content changes. The way people consume marketing changes, but the principles around it do not, right? So I could take that content and repost it a year, 3 years, 5 years from now, and it would still be relevant. So you need to be creating more evergreen content. And many people overlook creating evergreen content because they're so focused on keeping up with the latest trends, missing out on opportunities, right? Or leveraging what they already have. And that's a downside. If you're not creating evergreen content that you can use a year from now, 5 years from now, you're never going to get the time freedom that you really want. And part of the reason you might not be doing this is because you aren't confident in your marketing. You're not confident in what you have to offer. You're not confident in what transformation you provide people. And that comes back to building the foundation of your marketing. When you understand the foundation, you'll understand what are the evergreen principles people need to hear from me. Okay? Because if you're not creating evergreen content and everything is about what's happening today, it's going to have an expiration date. And you're going to keep burning the candle at both ends to produce all the time because it has a lifespan. Okay? So let's move on to some top tips when creating your repurposing strategy. Okay. One of the top reasons or one of the top tips that you need to do when creating a repurposing strategy is validation. Okay. And this is validation from your audience. Now, I want you to build a business and a life that doesn't have to be validated from other people. But we talked about it earlier. If you're repurposing content that's not resonating, it's not going to resonate other places either. Okay. Because it doesn't matter what platform your ideal client's on, they're still the same person. The only difference is the way they consume. Okay. So I'll go back to Alex Hormozy because he's got a really great plan. But before creating a piece of content, a piece of video content, before he takes the time to sit down and film something, right? Because he's busy, right? He ain't got time for all that. He's not gonna waste his time throwing spaghetti at the wall. Before he sits down to film something, he tests it out on Twitter. Okay, so Twitter was like his main platform. Okay, and from what I've watched and read, and I've read several of his books, is that he used to take a bunch of ideas in his notepad or his notes app on his phone. Let me know in the comments if your notes app is the most unorganized thing in your life, because for me, mine is jibber jabber. But he would take his ideas and instead of putting it on a notes app, he'd throw them on Twitter because Twitter is very low energy. You just write it out and post it, right? And then the following week, he would look back and see what tweets earn the most engagement. So he would look back at his analytics and say, okay, these 5 tweets were the most engaging for the week. And then he would take those 5 tweets and turn them into longer form content. So whether it be a YouTube video, whether it be a blog, he'd make a long form content from those tweets. Okay. And then he would take the long form content and turn that into short form for everything else. So instead of wasting his time going, what's going to work? What does my audience want to hear from me today? He would validate his idea before he put the energy into, okay, how much I'm going to spend 5 hours filming YouTubes today and they're all going to flop, right? So a lot of you might not be long form content creators, but one of the best ways to do this is your research. Okay. Your research. You can find Facebook groups where your ideal client is hanging out at. Okay. Not other entrepreneur groups unless they are your ideal client. But if you are trying to target, Gen Xers that want to make money for, to live comfortably during retirement, go find some groups where those Gen Xers are hanging out at. All right. I am sure there is some travel groups. There is some, Gen Xers, planning for retirement group, whatever that is. Go find those groups and ask questions in them. Post a question or ask it in the comments. What is your biggest struggle when it comes to paying off your house before retirement? What is your biggest struggle when it comes to, planning for whatever? Go get the information from your ideal client before you create content. Another good way to do this is using tools like Reddit. Okay. I can barely understand how to use Reddit. Okay. I can't follow it very well, but if I want to look up a topic on Reddit, I will Google, insert my topic and then Reddit and Google it. And it will bring me right to the one I'm looking for. Okay. It's hard for me to follow Reddit, but there are people putting every problem in their entire life on Reddit. Like it's there. Okay. It's one of the best places for you to get content ideas. Answerthepublic.com. It's another really good one to get content ideas. You can search a topic. Now, I think you can only do 3 searches for free every day. So make yourself 5 minutes a day to go do this. Search a topic. And it actually breaks it down by like preposition, verb. So let's say your topic is, saving for retirement. How to save for retirement. What to do to save for retirement. Why you should save for retirement. Like it'll break it down into WH questions, preposition, everything, right? But if you're spending more time scrolling your feed looking for ideas, you're wasting it. You need to be spending more time studying your ideal client and doing market research. Another way to do some validation is to ask questions to the audience you already have. So if you have a content idea, you have a course idea, you have a freebie idea, whatever, put it on your stories and say, thinking about creating a YouTube video about XYZ. Is this something you would be interested in? You are going to see me do that all the time. Before I decide, I had a great idea a couple weeks ago after my Views to Revenue Masterclass. I had so many good testimonials of people that were like, this was so eye-opening for me. But I also had a magnitude of DMs of people that were like, I don't know where to start. Like, it was great information, but now I'm overwhelmed and I don't know what to focus on first. So for me, I was like, okay, now I need to create something to help people implement, right? Because I told you this last week on my live training, but I teach every single week. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the people that watch these trainings do absolutely nothing with what I teach them. And I could prove that because last week I gave you 10 action steps, I think it was. And I said, I would love for you to DM me on IG and let me know which one of these action steps you're going to put into your business. And I got zero people that said, oh my gosh, I am going to focus on this. So you either one, didn't do anything with the information I gave you, or two, are scared to have accountability. Neither one of those are going to get you very far in entrepreneurship. All right. So you need to start rethinking that. You're going to have accountability from your IRS, from the, you need to hold yourself accountable as a CEO, right? If you're paying contractors or vendors, like there's going to be people holding you accountable. But most importantly, you have to hold yourself accountable. All right. So the point of this is before you start just flooding and repurposing all your content, you need to validate the idea. Now, if you decide to take what I'm teaching you today and go start repurposing, the best way to do this, go look at your analytics and see what has performed well in the last month. If nothing has performed well, you need to build your foundation, your ideal client, your branding, all of that has to be done or it's not going to perform well. All right. The next tip, so step 2 is once you've validated your ideas, you have 5 good ideas. You know your ideal client loves them. You know they want to hear about them. They're engaging with the content. You create signature content from that. And this is something I teach on in my academy. It's step 1 of my rinse and repeat framework. But creating that signature content is typically long form content. A lot of you are going to be very uncomfortable with long form content. You are like, I am not an expert. I can't teach anyone anything. You got to get over the fear. Get over it. Okay. Because I'm going to tell you, long form content is what builds long form businesses. Think about all of these content creators that you follow. Okay. Maybe not every one of them, but the ones that have been around before COVID. Okay. Before 2020, the ones that have been around and have been making a lot of money on social media for the last decade, they almost all started with long form signature content. YouTube mostly, or blogging. Think about it. Alex Hormozy, Gary Vee, a lot of these larger creators that you're following, they started on YouTube. Now, I'm not telling you to go start on YouTube today because YouTube's actually pretty hard to grow from my understanding. But the reason they're still around today, a decade later, is because they created signature long-form content. Long-form content builds trust with people. It builds credibility. It also, like I showed you, gives you the power to repurpose things. It's a lot harder to repurpose a 7-second TikTok everywhere than it is to repurpose a 10-minute YouTube video. So again, I'm not telling you to go create a YouTube channel, but you need to start thinking about creating some signature content. Because when you create signature content, everything that you put out ties back to it, which keeps your branding and your messaging consistent. When you're only creating short form, simple digestible content like that, what happens is you're constantly putting out new ideas and you're confusing your audience. Okay. So let's see. Next step, edit and curate. So we talked about this a little bit earlier, but if you're not curating it for the right platform, for each individual platform, and you're just blasting, the same thing everywhere, it's not going to work. So thinking about your hooks, How should they be different on each platform, right? Your captions or your subtitles, right? Relevant hashtags. The hashtags that are working on IG probably aren't working on TikTok, right? So you need to know what works on each platform and edit it. So once you've validated some ideas and you know, okay, these are things my audience cares about, and you've created signature content around them, then you edit and curate for all platforms. Okay. So that's how you're going to create that spider web we looked at earlier of taking one idea and turning it into 80, 90, 100 ideas, 100 pieces of content. This is what's going to save you time, money, potentially, and keep you from getting burnt out. So you need to know what's working on each individual platform. And then the last part is distributing and monitoring. So like everything in your business, your online business, you're not going to get it right the first time, probably. It's probably not going to hit it out the park the first time. But you need to distribute it, you need to do it, implement, and then monitor it. So take what you've learned today, go create your repurposing strategy for the rest of September. And then October 1st, go back and look and see. Okay, I took all of my TikToks and I turned them into IG Reels, IG Stories, and Facebook posts. The Facebook posts did really well. The Reels and the Stories did not. What do I need to look at to fix, right? You need to dissect it. And your analytics answer almost every question you have about your business. Okay, almost every question you have. But you either don't know how to read them, or you're reading them and you're looking at the wrong things. You're more focused on likes and views. And you need to be focused on what's getting engagement, because likes and views don't pay unless you are focused on being influencer style. Okay. So again, publishing a high volume of content everywhere, it takes 5 steps. All right. So we talked about in the beginning how it works, how powerful it is, some of the top mistakes, 4 top tips. Now I'm going to teach you the 5 steps. Okay. 1, planning. Planning revenue generating content ideas, quality content ideas. Being reactive in your business is not, it's not working. It's not helping you. Okay. Planning. 80% of your content should be in the planning phase. This is something I work on with my students in my club. It's something I work on with my students in my academy. We have content planning sessions because I know most of you don't do it on your own. And it feels a whole lot better and you have a little bit more clarity when you go into the month with, okay, I know what content I'm putting out this month. It gives you more confidence. 99.9% of your content problems are confidence. You're either not confident on camera or you're not confident in what you're putting out there because it hasn't generated a result yet. So you self-sabotage and keep yourself from planning. You're either waiting on someone that you follow to make a post so you can be like, okay, that worked well, let me go create it for me. Or or you're just so scared, you're like, well, it's 7 o'clock. I got to hurry up and create that TikTok I said I was going to do. 80% of your content is done in the planning phase. Second piece is creating. So I want you to try to create 1 long form piece of content every week. This is how you repurpose effectively. So whether it be a YouTube video, TikTok, you can actually go up to 10 minutes now. So technically that could be a long form video. A Facebook Live, a TikTok Live, an Instagram Live, right? Just make sure it's able to be downloaded so that you can transcribe it or, use it. Try to create long form content. You've probably built an entire business on short form content, and you're going to build more trust and credibility longer form. And if you don't know what to say on long form, if that's what's holding you back, you need to go do some research. That's not an excuse. Go research a topic and then go teach it to your ideal client. That simple. Okay. Then step 3 is editing, right? So we have our long form piece of content. Now we're going to edit it into a bunch of content. Podcasts, YouTubes, Reels, TikToks, Twitters, Threads, whatever, right? Emails, doesn't matter. So once you've got it out there, you got to edit it for the right platform. We talked about that. Copying, pasting doesn't working. 4 is repurposing the highlights. Okay, so this is a winning tip here, but repurpose the highlights and quotes into shorter form content. There's been so many quotes that I've said on live that I'm like, I need to trademark that. Like it came out naturally. Okay. And you probably have the same thing. You probably say things all the time and then you're like, oh, that was good. I need to write that down. Right. So take some of those quotes or those really bold statements and turn those into, short form content, tweets, make them a hook, right? A lot of different things you can do with that. And then of course, publishing. So step 5 is getting it out there. It does you no good. And I tell my students this, and I know several of them are watching, no good to plan the content if it doesn't actually get posted. Okay. Posted is best. Posted is best. It's not doing any good sitting in your drafts. All right. But if you follow these 5 steps to building your repurposing strategy, it will work. Okay. It will work. I told you from the get-go that about 20, maybe 30% max of my content, everything that goes out is new. Everything else is repurposed, curated in some form or fashion. And that's because I focus on evergreen content. I focus on things that don't change because marketing does not change. Okay. So again, and you've heard me say this multiple times throughout today, but this only works if you have a marketing plan. Repurposing isn't about throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping it sticks. Because if you're doing that on one platform and you just start doing it on 10, it's going to get the same result. Okay. You need to know what your message is, who you're talking to, and what you want them to do with the content. Call to action, AKA, right? Without that, you're wasting time. And you're going to now be wasting it on 5 different platforms instead of just one. So a marketing plan gives you that direction. It's like a roadmap that tells you where your content is going, what is the goal of it, and how it's going to get your audience to take action. The entire point of your marketing is to get your audience to take action. Okay, whether it be engaging with you, whether it be sharing it with someone else, whether it be buying your thing. But when you know what your plan is, repurposing fits in seamlessly. And it gets the most out of your content. Saves you time, saves you money, saves you energy. 3 most important things, right? So if you don't have a marketing plan, your content is just noise. And it's probably blending in. It might look good, but it won't convert to leads and sales. And unless you are doing this for fun as a hobby, I think you want leads, and I definitely know you want sales. Okay. So stick with me. I've got 2 announcements and then I'm going to answer any questions you guys had. But again, this is what it takes to build a content strategy and a repurposing strategy. And that is why I created the Social Success Challenge. Okay. We have one spot left at $67. After that, it goes up to $97 for 30 people, the next 30. And then after we have 90 people registered, it goes to $197, and it will be at $197 until the end of time. Okay. The challenge, for those of you that haven't seen this, goes live September 16th. And it's 30 days with me every day, a live challenge. It's not pre-recorded, for you to build your marketing plan from scratch. It is the ultimate challenge to give you clarity and confidence in your business. Because right now you're out there hustling for a sale, and you're not going to get those sales until you know where you're going. Right now, you're spinning the wheels and it's exhausting. And I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to quit. I don't want you to give up. I don't want you to keep questioning if entrepreneurship is for you. I want you to get a plan and execute that plan. Not just create it and write it down in your fancy new calendar that you spent $30 on at Walmart. I want you to actually do it. Show up. Prove to yourself that you started for a reason and you are worthy of putting in the effort to make it work. Okay, so if you are on Facebook or IG and you've not already registered for the challenge, you can drop success in the comments and I will DM you the link to get registered to save your spot. Again, we only have one spot left at 67, and then it goes up. So I will go in order of timestamp. If you're on TikTok, I am so sorry, but I cannot DM you a link on TikTok. So go to IG and DM me the word success, and I will get you the link to save your seat. Okay. But I can't send you a link on TikTok. And because I am doing the tiered payment plan this time, I'm not putting it in my Stand store. So the reason I did the tiered payment or the tiered pay this time is because I want to work with people that want to take action. I want to work with people who want the change, who are done with the excuses, who are throwing them to the side and ready to build the business that they want for 2025. So the faster you take action, the faster you commit to making change, commit to the challenge, the cheaper it is for you to get in. Okay. So again, every day for 30 days, we will be live. You'll be working with me. The second announcement I have, if you've not already got my free Sales Machine Masterclass, if you are on Facebook or Instagram, you can drop machine in the comments and we will DM you this. But today, I showed you the importance of having a rinse and repeat strategy or repurpose strategy. In this free masterclass, I show you exactly how I do it. Okay. So this is like my exact framework. So if you haven't gotten that, if you're on Facebook or IG, drop machine, we'll send it to you. If you're on TikTok, it's in my Stand store under, no, it should be the first thing at the top. It's called my Sales Machine Masterclass. Okay. This is free, but this shows you my framework. Taking everything I taught you today and putting it into action. Okay. And then lastly, of course, if you are, interested in working with me and my team on your business, we have the club and we have the academy. So the club, we're really focused on that person who's got low sales, no growth, no engagement, needs to get really clear on their messaging. In the academy, we're focused on that person who has a proven concept, has a proven offer, but their sales are inconsistent. And they need help with their operations, their automations, their workflow, and building that rinse and repeat strategy. So again, you can, if you're on TikTok, you can find these links in my Stand, or if you're on Facebook or IG, you can drop club or you can drop apply in the comments and we'll get you the information on the club or the academy. The academy is application only now because I want to make sure that you're ready for it before you come in and spend the money, to work with me for 6 months. But the club is open. And it's a monthly mentorship membership program. So it's a way to work with me inside your business. So let me go ahead and get to you guys and see what questions we have. I'm going to start with Instagram. So Megan said one of her favorite topics. Yay. Let's see. Megan said her video paused. Hope you post this. Yeah. So anyone that's watching, the replay for this is inside. It always lives inside my Facebook community. So if you're not already in my Facebook community, Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs, if you're on Facebook or IG, you can drop group and we'll get you the link to that. If you're on TikTok, you can find the link to my group in my Stand under Fave Resources. But all right. Yes, I see a lot of people excited about the masterclass. Perfect. All right. Facebook, let's see. Mississippi, whoop, whoop. All right. Nancy said my notes app is a mess. Girl, same. All right, same. TikTok, I'm going to flip you guys around so I can see your questions next. All right. Let's see. I'm going to move you. My kids broke my handy dandy face tracking little bitty thing. So I got to get another one from TikTok Shop. So I'm operating with this large one today. Can we repurpose IO to repurpose content? Yeah, so I do use repurpose.io. I want to say I actually have a map that shows you how I use it in my automation domination guide. So again, if you're on TikTok, you can grab that in my Stand. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Facebook or IG, you can drop dominate and I'll get you my free guide. But I use repurpose.io for the platforms I'm not focused on growing. So this is something I talked about a little bit earlier, but I try to grow one platform at a time. So last year I was really focused on growing on TikTok. I found out what content resonates with my ideal client there. I mean, grew to 72,000 followers in 1 year. 200,000 in sales in 1 year from TikTok. So I'm gonna say that's pretty good. So this year I'm really focused on IG. I still show up on TikTok. I still create content for TikTok, but in my opinion, at this point, I have mastered my content on TikTok because I could show up and create 10, 12 A-roll pieces of content for TikTok in an hour at this point because I've gotten so comfortable with what my audience needs there. So because I've mastered it, I have now this year focused on IG, and it's a different beast. Okay. Anybody that's on TikTok will tell you that it's a different beast. All right. And with all of these new things they're introduced, like things were, they changed my fonts. They're introducing virtual pets later this year, like all these things we did not ask for. But it's a different beast, right? So this year I'm really focused on learning what's working on Instagram while still staying consistent on TikTok, Facebook, etc. But the platforms I'm not focused on growing, like Pinterest, YouTube, I do use repurpose.io to take my reels and my TikToks and put them elsewhere. That way it's still active, but it's not, I'm not putting a ton of energy into those platforms. And one of the biggest things, you guys, if you're not using repurpose.io, one of the biggest reasons I love it, and yes, it's $25 a month. Okay. You can get a 2-week free trial in my Stand store, but is it backs up all your content. So that is one of the most important things you need to be doing, backing up your content, because how are you going to repurpose your stuff a year from now if it's gone, right? I've logged into a TikTok account before and it was completely gone. Like not even, you couldn't log in. Yeah. Yesterday I went to log into my IG account and my personal IG, not my business one. And it gave me your account's been hidden error message because it's associated with another account that's gone against violations or something like that. I have no idea. I screenshotted it, but I was like, oh, great. And so then I went to my business account because that's the only account it's associated with. And I have no violations on my business account. So who knows why I got that error message, but could you imagine if IG took it down and I would lose a decade worth of reels, right? So really important that you be backing up all your content. So even if you don't use repurpose.io to, repurpose, I still recommend it because it takes every piece of video content I create and puts it on my Google Drive. So if an account disappears tomorrow, I have all of my backups. Let's see. Oh, Sarah says, I highly recommend the club and the academy. Yeah. So Sarah's in my academy. My academy students get access to the club as well. So I love having Sarah. All right. So we got a couple questions on TikTok that I'm gonna let you guys go. Let me see. I want to make sure I get all of these answered. Massachusetts. Whoop, whoop. All right. And as always, you guys, if you have any additional questions, you can always drop them on the replay in my Facebook community if something comes up between now and then. And then if you're not in my Facebook group or community, I have been doing free coaching Fridays in there. And I'm allowed, people are allowed to drop any kind of question they have, and I'm answering them for you directly. Okay. So that is also worth paying attention to, because if you have a pressing question and you want my feedback on it, that's the perfect place to get it. Okay. Let's see. All right. I'm scrolling TikTok. I'm looking for questions. Got a bunch of glitter badges. Thank you. All right. I'm getting constant messages on TikTok about people posted a story. Yeah. So Neil, that's just, I think if you're following certain people, if TikTok believes that you have engaged with them or they feel like they're one of your favorite creators, they're notifying you. There may be a way to turn that off. I would Google to see. I haven't paid attention to see if there's a way. But I would look to see if you could turn that off. Most of the time, like with certain settings, you do have the ability to say you want them or you don't want them. One of the ones I was getting really frustrated with was the captions. So I always add captions to my video, and then TikTok started adding their own little bitty captions. So it was like, like it was covering all the information. I was able to turn that off. So I would check to see. Yeah, I see a couple people saying I almost missed you. The replay is always in my group. Okay. Just learn that planning is important. Yeah, planning is key. And I'll give you guys an example of how much more you can get done when you're planning. So I sit down the last week of the month every month and plan my content, get it executed, right? So there is an element of my business that is consulting. So I have consulted with local colleges, local franchises, large in-person businesses. So I am active on LinkedIn because I've been hired multiple times to come in and either train a marketing department or give, feedback on their marketing plan. So I do stay active on LinkedIn, but that's one of those ones where it's like, I don't want to hang out there every day. That's a small percentage of my business. So like I sit down and I plan all of my LinkedIn posts and schedule them for the whole month. I sit down and I record all of my podcasts and I go ahead and schedule them for the whole month. I sit down and plan all of my group, Socially Awesome Entrepreneurs posts, and I schedule them for the whole month. All of my Facebook business posts, I schedule them for the whole month. Like all of these things in one day, I was able to do all of that. My threads, which repurposes to Twitter, really looking at getting all of that planned. So that way, every day, there's only a certain element of what I have to do that day, right? And even like my Instagram Reels and my TikToks, they're planned and filmed. I usually just put them in my drafts because those are my two biggest. Like I said, I'm growing on Instagram. I'm trying to grow Instagram. And TikTok is where I get the most engagement currently. So I don't want those to be just schedule because I like to plug into those platforms every day. But the content is filmed in my drafts. And that way I'm not sitting here every day going, I'm going to film this piece of content, because there's days you're just not going to feel like it. So planning is the most important thing. Yeah, analysis paralysis. That's what happens when you don't have a plan. You get inside your own head and you're like, and you end up doing nothing, right? You got to have a plan. You got to have a plan. And that's one of the biggest reasons that I do planning sessions with my students, because it's a lot easier to do as a group and collectively than it is for you to sit at your house, be like, oh, I'm overthinking this, right? You're always overthinking. You're an entrepreneur. It's going to happen. But that's one reason I bring to my students and say, here's 30 content ideas. Here's 30 plug and play hooks. Take these, curate them for your business, put them back in the club or put them back in the academy. Let me give you feedback on them before. It's another form of validation, right? We talked earlier today about validating an idea before you put all this energy into it. So when my students are able to show me their content and say, what's your feedback on this? I can validate as a third party, not as an expert, not as a social media guru, as a third party to say, okay, I'm reading this. I know who your ideal client is, but if I was that person, that's not speaking to me. That's speaking to another digital marketer. That's speaking to someone else in your community. I'm not seeing this right. And it's another form of validation to say, okay, this idea is worth putting the energy into. Okay. So it's really important that you understand that it's not always about, what is going to get the most interaction. It's about what's going to reach the right people. Because I could post 10 TikToks today. Somebody said you should be a coach. I am a coach. I am. Thank you. But I lost my train of thought because ADHD is bad. But I will say it's not always about, like, I could post 10 TikToks today with ChatGPT hacks or Canva hacks, and they would go viral every single time. But guess what that does? That draws in a ton of freebie seekers, a ton of people that just want to download my free stuff and don't want to work with me because they're not ready to work with me. They're not ready to invest in their business. That's not a goal, right? That's not the goal. The goal isn't for you to just get a bunch of people. It's to get a bunch of the right people. Okay. So as always, you guys, the replay for this is inside the Facebook community. If you have not already registered for the Social Success Challenge, if you're on TikTok, you can DM me the word success. I'll get you the link, but we had one spot left and I can tell you it's already sold out because I see multiple people that have commented the keyword, but there's still space, but it goes up to 97 for the next 30 people and then 197 after that. Okay. So I wouldn't wait. You need a marketing plan for your business if you want results, and you're not going to learn how to create that from a course. You're not going to learn how to create that from ChatGPT or a YouTube video. It's going to be you doing the work for 30 days. Okay. So I cannot wait to see you guys in the challenge. I'll be live next Wednesday again. And if you have any questions, feel free to drop them on the replay. Bye, guys.